Alright everybody, my name is Mr. Decker, and today I'm going to teach you how to find the volume of cones and how to also find the volume of spheres. Alright, so volume. What is the volume of an object? The volume is how much space is inside our cone or how much space is inside our sphere. So to do that, we have 3 steps. This is going to be a little tough, so today we're going to be able to use calculators, which should make it hopefully a little bit easier. So 3 steps we'll start with cones and then we'll move on to spheres. So the first step we want to do is determine the height and the radius. So there's 2 ways we can do that. We can either read the problem and it should say it on there for us, or if it's not on there, we can get a ruler and we can measure it. So if we're going to measure it, we're going to go from the center to the top for our height, and then from the center to the outer edge for our radius. So after we did step 1, we got our height and we got our radius, we're going to put that into the formula of V, volume equals 1/3 times 3.14 times r squared times h. The r is going to go for the radius and the h is going to be for the height. So r squared, so if we put in, let's say 5 squared. A number squared is simply just a number times itself. So r squared would be 5 squared, and then 5 squared simply means 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so now that we have our step 2 done, we're going to put all the numbers into the formula. We're going to put all those numbers into the calculator to get the answer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go with our first one, and the height and the radius are already listed, so we don't have to do any measuring. But our first step, let's go ahead and write down our formula. 1/3 times 3.14 times r squared times h. Okay, so now let's just keep moving down with our formula. Just keep writing it out the same, but now we're going to get to the r. We're going to put in our number, which is 5 centimeters. 5 centimeters squared, and then we're going to put our number for h, which is 15 centimeters. Make sure that you guys carry over the centimeters into the problem, into the formula. Okay? So let's go ahead, and to make it easier for our calculator, let's go ahead and figure out what 5 squared is. And this should be easy since we just talked about this, but 5 squared is 25. So let's go ahead and put our centimeters times 15 centimeters. Okay, so everybody, let's do this together. Let's get out our calculator. And we're going to do, for 1/3, we're going to hit the number 1, hit the divided sign, 3, then we're going to do times 3.14 times 25 times 15, which will give us an answer of 300 V equals 392.5. Remember, we got to carry our centimeters, right? So we have centimeters, we have 2 over here and 1 over here. That gives us centimeters cubed. Okay, so we did our first problem. Let's go ahead and go on to our second example for cones, which is down here. Just like the first one, it's also listed. So let's go ahead and write our formula again. 1/3 times 3.14 times r squared times h. So our next step is let's put our numbers in for the height and the radius. V equals 1/3 times 3.14. Our radius is 9, so we have 9 centimeters squared. And our height is 19, so let's go ahead and do 19 centimeters. Okay, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and figure out what 9 squared is. So we can grab our calculators, but let's go ahead and write our formula. Let's do 1/3 times 3.14 times, now let's go ahead and see what 9 squared is. So we can do 9 times 9, and that will give us 81. Okay, so let's do 81 centimeters squared times 19 centimeters. Alright, so our next step is let's put the numbers into the calculator. Remember, do 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 81 times 19 will give us 1,610.82. Remember, we have 2 centimeters and 1 centimeters, so that will give us 3 centimeters. So our answer is 1,610.82 centimeters cubed. Okay? So we did a couple examples for cones. Now let's do a couple examples of spheres before we do some work on our own. Okay, so just like cones, we have 3 steps. But for the sphere, we don't have to do height. All we have to do is the radius, which is from the center to an outer edge, just like in cones. So we've got our radius for step 1. Step 2 is we're going to put that into a different formula. And that formula for spheres is V equals 4/3 times 3.14 times r cubed. R, again, is the number that is for the radius. And then r cubed, a little different than r squared. R squared, we do the number times itself, so 5 times 5. For 5 cubed, we're going to do 5 times 5 times 5. We're going to times it by each other 3 times. So 5 times 5 is 25. Then we're going to do that times 5. So 25 times 5 is 125. 5 cubed equals 125. Next, we're going to put those numbers into the calculator, just like cones, to get our answer, okay? So let's go over our first example. We have a radius of 3 centimeters. Let's go ahead and write our formula. Volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times radius cubed. So let's go ahead and do this again. Write it down every time. Now let's put in our number for the radius, which is 3. 3 centimeters cubed. Let's go ahead and find out what 3 cubed is to make it easier when we're doing our calculator. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So we have 27 centimeters cubed. And to get our final answer, let's grab our calculators. And we're going to do it just like we did for cones. But instead of the 1 divided by 3, we're going to do 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 27. That will give us an answer of 113.04 centimeters cubed. Remember to write down your centimeters, okay? Alright, so let's go on to one more. So we have a sphere with a radius of 7 centimeters. So let's go ahead and write our formula. 4/3 times 3.14 times radius cubed. Let's fill it out with what our radius is. 7 centimeters cubed. We'll take that one more step, figure out what 7 cubed is to make it easier for our calculator. So this one, we can't do it in our head. Let's grab our calculator and do 7 times 7 times 7, which will give us 343 centimeters cubed. Alright, let's get our final answer. Let's put it into the calculator. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 343. That gives us an answer of 1,436.02 centimeters cubed. Okay guys, if you have any questions, let me know. You can look up here, I'll leave them up here for examples, but I'm going to hand out a worksheet and you guys are going to do some problems on your own. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll be walking around the room to see if you guys are doing it right. Alright, I'm going to grab the worksheet. Thanks guys.